Here we are in this week's assignments module, which are due Sunday, February 7th. Some of the learning objectives for this week are using tools to create basic shapes, scale and duplicate objects, and apply multiple transformations to objects. This week's textbook tutorial, you'll be working through Chapter 3, using shapes to create artwork for a postcard. Chapter 4, editing and combining shapes and paths. And Chapter 5, transforming artwork. And again, just click the link and that will take you to the textbook in the library database. There's Chapter 3, Chapter 4. Just click those links and that will take you to that chapter in the textbook. I've also included the chapter files, so just right-click on that zip folder, save link as, and then unzip them on your computer so that you can work with them. You may want to have a look at this week's video tutorials, which help you understand the tools and techniques you'll be learning this week. There are videos for Chapter 3, videos for Chapter 4, and videos for Chapter 5. I've also included videos for the Skill Builder so that you can finish up our first Skill Builder of Campground Icons. So be sure to have a look at those to help you finish that up. And I've also included some additional videos with a few more Illustrator tips and tricks. So have a look at those videos. This week you'll be completing the first Skill Builder, your Campground Icons. Again, be sure to have a look at the video tutorials to help you complete them. And when you've finished, submit your native Illustrator file. And hopefully your icons will look similar to these. And to submit them, just click this link. That will take you into a screen. Now your screen will look a little bit different than mine because I'm not a student, but there will be a place for you to attach your file and submit it. This week you'll begin working on your first project, which is a subway map. Click that link and that will take you into the parameters for this project. Again, it's a subway map. It's not due until February 28th, so you have plenty of time to work on it. So your first project will be an imaginary subway map for the city you lived in or maybe have lived in or are familiar with. A subway map is a type of information graphic design in the form of a schematic diagram to indicate the routes and stations within a public transportation system. Subway maps are not necessarily geographically accurate, and instead they frequently use straight lines and angles with a fixed distance between stations. Subway maps compress time and space since passengers do not need to know how far away their destination is or how long it will get there. All passengers need to know is how to get from point A to point B in the easiest possible way. Here are all of the project requirements and grading rubric. There's a section on technical competency, artistic form, and professional presentation. So be sure to have a look at these requirements. The project is worth 150 points total. Here are some examples of simplified subway maps. I've also included some subway map resources for you. Click these links and that will take you to websites with more information about subway maps and transit maps. So have a look at those links. I've also included a video here of Massimo Vignelli, who was a great graphic designer who was asked to design a subway map for the city of New York in the early 70s. It became rather controversial, and they replaced it later with a different kind of map, but it was an interesting controversy for what was a great subway map. I've also included a bibliography of books on subway map design as well as transit maps. Transit Maps of the World is a great book that is in the UCSD library. So again, have a look at the resources for subway maps and familiarize yourself with the project requirements. And again, this project is not due until February 28th, so you have plenty of time to work on it. Also in the lecture section, I'd like you to have a look especially at the subway map design lecture. This will help you understand the purpose of subway maps and why they are different from other types of maps. So it's a brief lecture, an overview about subway maps and their purpose. The first subway map was the London Underground, which opened in 1863. And here's the first subway map, and you can see that it's a geographical layout. People didn't understand the new technology or how to design a map for it, so they just used what they knew. But along came Harry Beck, who was an electrical engineer for the London Underground, and he realized that the new technology needed a different and new type of map, something that was much easier to read. And so he came up with this in 1933. And you can see that it's made up primarily of horizontal, vertical, and 45-degree angled lines. The subway stops, or the station stops, are equally spaced, because then, again, people didn't need to know how far it was from stop to stop or the actual route of the trains. They just needed to get from one place to another. And you can see how color has been used to organize the information. Mr. Beck also took the Thames River here that you can see and aligned it with the angles of the train routes to give the map a lot more clarity. This is the current London Underground map, and you can see how similar it is to Mr. Beck's original map. And here you can see a side-by-side comparison, which look almost identical. Here's the Paris Metro map, and again, you can see how horizontal, vertical, and 45-degree lines are used, and the Seine River is also aligned with the angles of the train routes. So that subway maps take a lot of liberties with geography. This is the subway map that Massimo Vignelli designed in 1972 for the city of New York, and you can see how information is very clearly organized. A lot of people didn't like it because it wasn't geographically accurate, and that's what caused a lot of controversy. But it is a very clear and legible map. This is what Vignelli's map was replaced with, which is not nearly as easy to read, even though it is more geographically accurate. Here are some student maps from past classes. Marcia Jackson did an imaginary subway for the city of Oahu, and she's even created a logo for the Oahu Subwave that she calls it. You can see how much time she spent on creating the details like the icons for the station stops. She's got a very clearly organized map and even has aligned her legend with the angle of the train routes. Here's another very beautiful map by Alison Carlo that clearly organizes the information and makes it very clear and easy to read. And another map by Miguel Saldano. So there are some examples of subway maps. This week, you'll do your research phase for the first project, and you're going to find 2 examples of subway maps and post them to the discussion board. You'll compare and contrast the maps by answering these questions. And this assignment is worth 10 points. To submit your research, click that link and that will take you into the discussion board, where you can click in the reply field and post your assignment. This week's illustrator artist is Dennis Salviate, who does some very interesting things with Illustrator. And for this week's bibliography, I've included links to various resources for Illustrator. So this week, you are going to turn in your research phase for the first project. You'll look over the requirements for the project to make sure you understand that. And you'll turn in the first skill builder, your campground icons. Be sure to have a look at the subway map design lecture. Have a look at the video tutorials. And work through the chapters 3, 4, and 5 in the textbook. So that's this week's assignment. If you have any questions, be sure to email me. Otherwise, have fun.